Listen, I was 17 when my life first went off the rails. One day, Diana came to my house and announced that she was pregnant. Diana and I had been friends since school. We just hung out together. Were we in love? Hell if I know. I believed we were, but since neither of us had been in a serious relationship with anyone else, I just don't know. We had a few fights, but we always made up. Anyway, it came to a head. Diana's parents and mine insisted that we get married. Diana and I were happy with the idea, so we hurriedly arranged a wedding. I was never a favorite of Diana's parents, and getting her pregnant didn't improve their opinion of me. The wedding was a quiet affair at the local courthouse. My beautiful new wife and I moved into an apartment above one of her father's stores. Of course, I had to drop out of college, where I was studying to be an engineer. I needed to earn a living for my new family. My uncle got me an apprenticeship as a toolmaker at the local company where he worked. The pay was lousy, but after completing my apprenticeship, I could earn a decent living. In the meantime, I worked evenings and weekends to earn the extra money we needed to live on, and I hoped that one day I would be able to save up for a down payment on a house. Dia wasn't very happy that I was away every evening at college or working. Soon, cracks began to appear in our relationship. They were exacerbated by my terrible mother-in-law. She ran the store above our apartment, and every day she would go up to Dia and point out my faults. Look, I know I wasn't an angel, but I was doing everything I could for the woman I loved, who was going to be the mother of my child. But no matter what I did, it didn't seem to be appreciated. For a while, things improved a little between Dea and me when our daughter Nettie, Anita, was born. Dea and I were proud of our beautiful daughter. But the sleepless nights and the fact that I was always working or studying soon led to new arguments. And now there was a child in the house, and Gorgon seemed to be around more than ever. By that time, an open war had broken out between Dee's mother and me. To be honest, Dee's father was a really good man. I truly believe that sometimes he felt sorry for me. I fought because that's what my father always told me to do. As he put it, you made your bed, now you have to lie in it. Well, for the next year or two, I did everything I could. But I worked and studied every hour God gave me. Life with Dia was just a routine, and our sex life was reduced to almost nothing. God, I was 19 and felt like I was 50. One evening, when I came home from my evening job, I saw my father-in-law's car pulling away from the house. When I entered the apartment, Dia was in Nettie's bedroom. I walked in and found her putting Nettie to bed. When I asked why Nettie wasn't asleep at midnight, Diana replied that her mother had been watching her while she was at work. I furiously asked her where she had been, and she replied that it was none of my business. She said that I was always at work and that she had the right to go out and have fun if she wanted to. I was furious. I was either studying or working when I was away from home. I never went out to have fun. Diana wouldn't listen and still refused to tell me where she had been. We barely spoke to each other for the next week. We just pretended nothing had happened. We stopped having sex. It was during this time that I made the most disturbing discovery of my life. One Sunday morning, before going to work at the local pub, I was playing with Nettie and noticed that her hair color had changed. When she was born, it was mouse-colored like mine. Now there was a distinct reddish tint. Diana is blonde, her mother is blonde, and her father has black hair. Everyone in my family is blonde. Where the hell did that reddish tint come from? I studied Nettie closely. She had features that she had clearly inherited from Diana, but none of them resembled my family. What could I think? You can guess what I thought, can't you? I wondered if I had been deceived. In the 60s, there weren't all the genetic tests that there are today. But the next morning, I went to the doctor and talked to him. He, of course, cited medical confidentiality, but after much persuasion, he checked our blood types and said that I was most likely Nettie's father. It was strange of him. He didn't say that I was Nettie's father, only that I might be, and he didn't go into details. I found out Nettie's blood type and mine, but he didn't tell me Diana's. Then I went to see my doctor at work. I had been seeing him several times, as I had been overworking a bit over the past couple of years, and he was keeping an eye on my health. I asked him the same question I had asked my family doctor, after I brought him a sample of Diana's blood so he could determine her type. Where do you think I got it? I had to wait a couple of weeks. He told me that there was a 60% chance that I was Nettie's father. That was all he could say. In those days before DNA tests, that was the most accurate they could tell me. 95% would have reassured me, but 60% was all he could give me. That meant there was a 40% chance I wasn't Nettie's father. I wasn't in the best of moods, I can tell you. A few weeks later, on a Saturday night, I was pouring beer at my local pub when a fight broke out. I stepped in and broke up two guys who were friends of mine and had had a little too much to drink. Unfortunately, I took a pretty hard blow in the scuffle, and my boss sent me home. It was around 10 o'clock at night. In those days, pubs closed at 11 p.m. Then there was time to finish drinking, and after that we had to prepare the bar for the next day, so I usually didn't get home until after 1 a.m. When I got home, Diana's mother was looking after the children. I was furious. Diana had left again without telling me. I demanded to know where Diana was and how often she went out on Saturday nights. Gorgon not only told me that Diana had a right to go out with her friends, but also refused to tell me where she had gone. But from her tone, I could tell that this was a regular occurrence. The argument that ensued between my mother-in-law and me was so loud that the neighbors called the police. This worked to my advantage, as they forced the bitch to comply with my request and leave my house. After calming Nettie down, I sat down and stared out the window, waiting for Diana to return. A little after 12, a car pulled up to the house, and I saw Diana sitting in the back seat. Diana got out and stopped, talking to the open door. I could see a guy sitting in the back seat. They were talking quite loudly, and although I couldn't make out what they were saying, I believed they were probably laughing and joking, as Diana was waving her arms. Then Diana closed the door and walked toward the house. But at that moment, her father's car pulled up. Diana was surprised to see her mother in the car and walked over to her. They talked for a while, and I saw Dia look nervously at the house, then turn and talk to her mother again. I don't believe Dia could see me watching her through the dark window. They talked for a while, then Dia's father got out of the car and walked up to the apartment with her. I sat down in the living room and waited. Diana came in and just stood there looking at me. Her father stayed in the hallway. As I said, I believed he was a good man. He was just standing there to keep me from losing my nerve and doing something I would regret. "What game do you think you're playing?" I asked. "I just went out for a walk with my friends," Dina replied. "Oh, you decided to go out with your friends and didn't bother to tell me. You asked your mom to come and sit with you, and you didn't bother to tell me either." "I knew you'd react like that, so I didn't tell you. You're jealous that I'm having fun. I'm always here with Anita. I got bored, so I decided to go out with my friends." "What friends and where did you go?" "My friends from school, you know them, Angela, Shirley, and the others. We went to the Fender Club to dance." "If you went with your friends, how did you get home at this hour? The buses aren't running anymore." "We took a taxi, and the girls gave me a ride." "What do you think I am, an idiot? You just got out of John Braga's car. That's not a taxi." "Oh, we were waiting for a taxi and John offered us a ride. He was at the Fender Club, too." "And how many girls were in your little group?" 5. We all squeezed in." "Damn. 7, all squeezed into that little Ford Cortina. It must have been cramped." "No, 6. There were only 5 of us and John." "No, Diana. At least 7. You seem to have forgotten Ray Stevens. The guy you were sitting on his lap. The guy who pulled your tits out when the car stopped." Diana gasped. I caught her off guard. She didn't realize that I had not only seen the car pull up, but could also see what was going on inside. The light from the shop windows illuminated everything in there like daylight. I saw tears glistening in the corners of her eyes. She was caught, and she knew it. "Why are you lying to me? John Bragg has been banned from the Fender Club for years. He was at the pub the other day complaining that they wouldn't lift the ban and that he always had that red-haired bastard Ray Stevens with him." "Cut the crap. You and Stevens had something going on when we were in school. You told me it was over when we got back together. You've been acting like a bitch toward me ever since we got married, and judging by your behavior, I don't believe it's over between you two. I think you've been seeing him behind my back, and Ray Stevens is the one who got you into the club. Why did you choose me? Did you believe that little slime ball couldn't be a good father? Or did he refuse to make you an honest woman? What the hell are you talking about?" "Anita, I'm talking about this. Haven't you noticed that her hair is turning red just like Ray Stevens? I wonder if there's more than a 60% chance that he's Anita's father." You're talking nonsense. You're Anita's father. You always said so. But the doctors told me that there's only a 60% chance that I'm her father. Diana's face turned red. She stumbled as if she didn't know what to say. You're talking nonsense. Anita is our child. How could you believe otherwise?" "Listen, Diana. You told me I was Anita's father, and I dropped out of college and married you. Ever since we got married, you've been less and less interested in me. And now I find you in a car with your ex-boyfriend, with your breasts exposed. I'm starting to think I was the fall guy. A fool. I think you've been cheating on me with Ray Stevens, and he got you pregnant. I've always been so careful. I could never understand how you got pregnant." But Ray Stevens isn't the careful type, is he? We all know he dragged Jennifer Hunt into the club at school and then denied everything. Did he tell you to get out too? Is that why you let me take the blame? Number. You're Anita's father. You're my husband. I love you. Oh, you love me, do you? Then tell me, when was the last time you said that to me? When was the last time we made love? Better yet, when was the last time you talked to me like a human being? Well, that's it. It's over. From this moment on, you're on your own. I'm leaving. With that, I got up, grabbed the bag I had already packed from the chair, and headed for the door. My father-in-law must have decided it was time to intervene. "Wait a minute, Rice. Calm down, please. You can't believe that Anita isn't your daughter." "Oh, yes, I can, Jim. Your daughter made me live in hell for almost 3 years, and I believe it's because she married the wrong guy. Well, I've had enough. Let her go find another sucker who will work like a dog for her." With that, I pushed him away and left the apartment. As I was walking down the stairs, Dia called after me, begging me to stay. Her mother had obviously heard the commotion, got out of the car, and started yelling at me. I was surprised to hear Jim yell at her, "Shut up, you stupid bitch. I believe this is all your fault. You never gave the guy a chance." At that moment, I turned the corner, so I couldn't hear what they said next. What should I do now? I didn't know. If I went to my sister's, Dia would find me soon. So I went to the factory and spent the rest of the night sitting in the security guard's hut. Ted was a nice old man, a friend of my grandfather's before he died. I told him about my problems. He sympathized with me and offered me a place to stay in a spare room, which I gratefully accepted. In the morning, before going to Ted's, I called my sister Susan. She was very worried about me and said that Dea and my father had already come to her house looking for me. I told her that I was fine, which was a lie, and that I had a place to stay. I also told her that I had broken up with Dea. She knew that the last few years had been hell for me, and apparently Sue had told Dea exactly what she thought and told her to get lost. At lunchtime, I went to my part-time job at the pub, but at the same time I handed in my resignation. While I was serving at the bar, Dea's father came in, but the manager, knowing what had happened, came out and asked him to leave without waiting to talk to me. I left the pub early through the back door. On Monday morning, I went to my training manager at work and told him I was quitting. I really didn't know what I was going to do. I just wanted to leave. Then the training manager suggested a better idea. It seemed like he didn't want to waste the time and effort the company had invested in me. He offered me to stay for another month until the end of the current semester at college. I was studying part-time, and then transfer to the company's factory in Swindon, where I could finish my training. It turned out that the company had a dormitory for trainees where I could stay for a while. So that's what I did. I spent an awkward month avoiding Dee and her father. Some evenings they hung around the factory, but the security guards warned me which gates they were standing at, and I just used the others. 6 weeks later, I found myself in Swindon. The police came to me because Dee had reported me missing. I told them I was fine, and they asked if I wanted them to tell Dee where I was. I said no, but they said that if Dea started divorce proceedings, they would have to tell the court where I was. That was the last I heard. She sent several letters to my sister asking about me and asked Sue to forward some of them to me. I asked Sue to return them unopened. I finished my apprenticeship and was transferred to the model shop almost immediately. I never realized it, but management had plans for me. Apparently, I was very good at solving problems, and they had noticed this several years earlier. Let me explain. A designer creates something that looks great, but some fool has to make it. Sometimes it's practically impossible, but I was good at figuring out how to modify things so they could be made without increasing the cost. The next few years flew by. I didn't hear anything from Dee. No, that's not true. My sister Sue told me that she returned her letters 3 or 4 times a year. She said that, judging by the address, Dee was living with her parents. A couple of times Sue asked me to write to Dee, but I refused. You know the old saying, distance makes the heart grow fonder. For me, it was true. I couldn't get her out of my head, but my thoughts of her were always clouded by mistrust and the pain she had caused me. I rose through the ranks at an astonishing rate, and by the age of 34, I was a member of the board responsible for product development. I had a nice, not great house and a fancy company car. Women? Yes, I had them. I'm not bad looking, and with my salary I probably seemed like a good catch. But once bitten, twice shy, if you know what I mean. Besides, I was probably still married. I never saw any documents confirming my divorce, and Dea, apparently, was still using my last name. Everything started to change when I was having dinner with a colleague at a large hotel in Swindon one Friday evening. My friend pointed out that a young woman dining alone was looking at us. She was too young for my colleague or me, and we wondered what she was interested in. As soon as she realized we had noticed her, she pretended not to be looking anymore. Later, as we were leaving the bar, I literally bumped into this young woman. We both apologized, and that was the end of it. But a few seconds later, a security guard approached me and, without taking his eyes off the girl, asked if I had lost my wallet. I checked and said it was still there and asked why he had asked. That girl was waiting for you to leave the bar, sir. She headed straight for you and bumped into you on purpose. I thought she might be a pickpocket and wanted to steal your wallet. I turned to look in the direction the girl had gone, but she was already out of sight. The hotel detective didn't know who she was. He said he thought he saw her following me when I came in and that she didn't have a reservation, as was usual. That evening, we were supposed to be driven home by a company car, as my colleague and I knew we would be drinking. Perks of the job. The car dropped my friend off first as he lived closer, and when he was driving me home, the driver said that a taxi was following us. "Are you sure?" I asked. "Absolutely," the driver replied. "Do you mind if I take a detour? It will prove my point." We drove to my house through a different part of the village, and the taxi continued to follow us. "Well, that proves it, boss. He's definitely following us. What should I do?" "It's no secret where I live. Drop me off and drive around, see what the taxi does. Call me back and let me know, but don't get yourself into trouble." "All right, boss. I won't lose him." I believed my driver was enjoying the intrigue. Half an hour later, he called me. "Everything's fine, boss." I followed the taxi into town. It dropped the woman off at a hotel and I managed to talk to the driver. He said the girl flagged him down where I picked you up and asked him to follow us. As soon as she found out your address, she told him to take her back to the city. He said he told her I was watching him, but she just thought it was funny and didn't worry about it. The taxi driver was a little curious and waited until the girl entered the hotel. He said he didn't know what to make of it. For his own peace of mind, he wanted to make sure she was really staying at that hotel. I thanked the driver and asked if he could take my car home the next morning, and he said he would arrange it. On Saturday morning, I was lying on a deck chair in the garden sunbathing when I heard a car pull up. I thought it was the driver with my car. He knew what was going on and was just dropping it off for me. A little later, a shadow fell over me. I didn't look up. "Hello, Anita. How can I help you?" "You know who I am." "I figured it out last night, girl. It didn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure it out, and you have your mother's eyes, so how can I help you?" "I just want to know who my father is." "Well, I believe you have the wrong man. I think your father's name is Ray Stevens." "No, that's not him. My father is Reese Cohn, and that's you. My mother told me she never slept with Ray Stevens. She said you were my father. She told me what a bitch she was to you and how she drove you away." I turned and looked at her. She had long brown hair that fell to her shoulders. If it weren't for the color of her hair, she could have been Diana. I can't believe she's still sticking to this lie after all this time. She hasn't been my wife since practically the day we got married, and then I saw her with that jerk. Does she really think I'm going to believe this nonsense now? Without waiting for me to offer her a seat, Anita sat down on another deck chair. "Mom isn't asking you to believe her, I am." "I know it's hard for you to believe, but Mom loves you. She always has. Listen, after you left, Mom had a nervous breakdown. She ended up in the hospital, and the doctors said she was severely depressed, very severely depressed, which probably started before I was born. You know that Grandpa divorced Grandma because of this? He said that instead of helping you both through a difficult time, Grandma spent all her time trying to drive a wedge between Mom and you. This made Mom's depression worse, and she took it out on you. Mom told me over and over that she shouldn't have gone out with the girls back then. She said that being with them made all her problems go away for a while. But when she came home, she had to take care of me again, and then her mother would start picking on her because of you and because you were always out of the house. Mom knew you were working very hard to save money for a house to get her out of that apartment she hated so much. She felt guilty for leaving the house and having a good time. She felt so guilty that she tried to hide from you that she was leaving the house. When you found out, she just didn't know what to say to you. So she did what her mother taught her. She lashed out at you and told you to mind your own business. And then that evening you came home early and had a big fight with Nan. Mom said she was shocked when you suddenly threw Ray Stevens at her. She says Ray Stevens and John Bragg were walking by while she was waiting for a taxi with the girls outside the club. John offered to give the girls a ride, but Mom said she wanted to wait for a taxi. The girls agreed, and Mom didn't have enough money for a taxi, so she had to get in the car. But since she was the last one, the only place left for her was on Ray Stevens' lap. She told me that a few years ago, when you and she were fighting, she went out with Ray a couple of times. But she says she only did it to make you jealous. Anyway, Ray got mad in the car and pulled her top down as soon as the car pulled up to the house. She yelled at Ray, just like John Bragg yelled at the girls. You don't know this, but after you left, John Bragg and Ray got into a fight over it. John is actually a good guy. He and Angela were good friends of my mom's and mine. Oh, I guess you don't know that John married Angela. They invited you to their wedding in a futile attempt to mend the dialogue between you and Mom. But I suspect your sister never sent the invitation. Oh, but Susan did. I just couldn't understand why they invited me. We were never close friends in school. They were your mother's friends, not mine. Their plan was to bring you two together and tell you what really happened. I don't see how that would help. I'm afraid I left your mother because I'm sure I'm not your father. I started noticing a color in your hair that I couldn't trace back to either your mother or my family. I thought they were turning red, and that's why I thought that maybe Stevens could be your father. They're still red. Do you dye them? No, it's my natural color. It runs in your family. You just never noticed it. Come on. Where did you get that? We're all blondes. Not all of us, Dad, she said confidently, opening her purse and taking out a powder compact. She opened it and turned it toward me. You don't want to tell me what color your mustache is? Are you going to say you dye it? A little puzzled, I looked at my mustache in the mirror. I'm very proud of my Mexican-style mustache. I've looked at it and studied it. I look at the damn thing every day, but I never noticed. It's not blonde. It's brown. No, not red. No, it's a very light chestnut color. Oh my God! Yes, Dad. Your father's beard was the same color, but you probably never noticed. Here, look at these old photos. She pulled some photos of my father out of her bag and handed them to me. When you left your photo albums behind. A couple of years ago, I noticed the color of his beard in some of the photos. It seems to change a little. In the Christmas photos, the color is quite bright, and in the summer photos, his beard is almost white. Grandpa and I have been looking for you ever since I noticed it. Looking at the photos of my late father, I suddenly remembered how the color of his beard had changed. And then I understood what Anita was talking about. I think I screamed and burst into tears. My whole world suddenly collapsed. I couldn't think clearly or understand what was happening. I must have been on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I remember Anita jumping up from her chair and hugging me. And then, nothing. I don't know how long I sat there crying. The next few hours are a complete mystery to me. When I came to, I was lying on the bed, and my doctor was giving me an injection. He was saying something to me, but I couldn't hear him, and then the room went dark again. Later, I learned that the shock of realizing I had been so wrong was almost too much for my brain to handle. The doctor gave me a sedative, hoping that rest would help. I opened my eyes when I heard a voice say, "Reese, can you hear me?" The room was dark, and I could see stars in the window to my left. Turning my head to the right, I saw a vague silhouette. Then the voice I knew so well said, "I'm sorry, Rice. I didn't mean to be so cruel to you. But my mind was in such turmoil." Then Diana leaned over and kissed me on the forehead. "Will you ever forgive me?" I jumped up and grabbed her, pulling her toward me. "You're the one who needs to forgive me. I abandoned you and our child." "Now, you two, let's not start assigning blame." Anita's stern voice rang out from across the room. "There's no point in blaming each other. If you do that, we'll never be a family, and we've already been apart for too long. You both made big mistakes, so let's forget about them and try to move on." What will happen now? I really don't know. Diana and Anita are staying at my place for now. Dia and I talked, kissed, and hugged a little. Diana wanted to sleep with me, but I asked her to wait. I'm not the young man she married many years ago. She may decide that she doesn't love me after all. Anita believes that's unlikely. Now I realize that Diana and I were too young and naive when we got married, and she had Nettie. I wasn't ready to be a husband and father. I tried to be like my father, but I was too young to handle it. I know I loved Diana, but I didn't realize that she was also out of her element and needed more support than I was giving her. At the time, I was one-sided and only thought about the future. I spent most of my time away from that depressing little apartment. Although I was working, I wasn't locked up in that hell. Dia needed to get out of there too, even if only for a few hours. Dea was wrong not to tell me she was going out with her friends. But young people aren't known for making the right decisions. She was also under the influence of her mother, who I now realize was pursuing her own hidden agenda. Dea's mother wasn't just a bitch to me. I believe she wanted our marriage to fall apart. I believe she thought I had stolen her daughter and wanted her back. Do I really want Dea back in my life? Yes, I believe I do. I rejected all the women I dated over the years because they couldn't compare to Dea. From what Anita told me, her mother never took other men's advances seriously. Anita told me that ever since she was a child, whenever the conversation turned to her mother's admirers, she always rejected them. Dea simply said that there was only one Rice, and no other man would do for her. But I intend to proceed very cautiously. I am sure that rushing into things now could lead to mistakes. We need to get used to each other gradually, and then see what the future brings. Life goes on.